Dear members of the EPP Youth and dear young entrepreneurs, your presence here today is a hope for all of us, for all of us Europeans who are, you are right, agonizing over fighting the economic stagnation that is presenting a real threat to every society. And as the presidents have rightly so pointed out, this has been even more so for us Greeks, since we have been striving for 6 consecutive, long and painful years of a very deep recession, only coming out of it to recovery very recently. Just think of it, a country that is in a recession for 6 years, that has an unemployment level that reached its peak last September, 28%, 60% among the youth, a country that lost during the crisis something like 28% of its GDP. We're now back. We have surpluses, both in our budget and in our current account. Last quarter, although it sounds like an oxymoron, it is true, according to Eurostat statistics, that Greece had the biggest growth in the Eurozone area, hoping to have something like 2.9% in 2015 real growth. So the sacrifices were huge, but we believe the crisis will be shortly over. And so for us Greeks today, the presence of so many young Europeans here and so many young and successful entrepreneurs, I believe is a powerful confirmation of this hope and a reassurance that gives meaning to all those hardships we've gone through and all those efforts we have undergone as a society. I believe things are finally changing our way. And youth entrepreneurship, I have to add, is indeed an avenue for growth. I have to be blunt. I know who I'm talking to, and I think we're all aware that our growth model in the last decades has become obsolete. In some cases, I may say it has even gone bankrupt. And here we have discovered this as a painful fact, because we went through a complete failure and we're now trying hard to overcome it and replace it. Therefore, it is true to say that everyone in Europe is basically raising the same question. How are our economies going to grow from now on? And how are our societies going to prosper in the years to come? I want you to know that in my country we have already answered the question. And we really believe that there is only one solid, long-term answer. And the answer is by setting your house in order, so that fiscal deficits will never paralyze us again, and so that we will never have to suffocate under a mountain of uncontrolled debt that was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And further on, by implementing structural reforms, and by that I mean terminating bureaucracy, being able to provide both to your people and to foreign investors a red carpet treatment in the public sector instead of a red tape treatment. That was the case so far. Eliminate all kinds of distortions. Sweep away widespread, unfair privileges so that we can guarantee the rights for everyone to jobs, opportunities, knowledge, and entrepreneurship. So we have chosen to change our country through competitiveness, through enhancing reforms, bringing extroversion, which also goes with our character, stable jobs, sustainable growth, and prosperity. To put it differently, we have chosen to make the most out of our competitive or comparative, if you wish, advantages and our idle national wealth, generating opportunities and welfare for all. And now that I mentioned the word competitiveness, what is the most precious and most promising competitive advantage of Europe? Don't look it up too far. It's our human capital, our peoples in Europe, together with this immense accumulated experience and knowledge and technology, together with our various traditions, cultural traditions of quality of life, quality of thinking, quality of producing, quality of transcending the ordinary and going into the original. Transcending is an incredible word. And there's an ancient Greek word, but this one is a Latin one, transcendentia. I think that others have cheap working force, others have more abundant and cheap resources, including energy resources, but we Europeans enjoy the blessing of being in the front run of scientific research, technological breakthroughs, pioneering ideas, revolutionary applications, top-notch research, a very rich and diverse cultural background, as well as a phenomenally well-established democratic tradition. In short, we are societies with peoples well-trained, well-educated, free and productive, as well as institutions able to make the most out of our intelligence and human nature. So our most powerful competitive advantage in Europe is our human capital and a stable democratic environment that allows us to make the most out of it. And you, the youth of Europe, are the heirs of this precious legacy. So please just look around you. The most competing advantage of Europe is best represented in this auditorium by young people who have rejected populism, who have rejected statism, who have rejected extremism. Young people who believe in themselves, who believe in the potential of private enterprise, who believe in the blessing of thinking out of the box and bringing about novelty. And at the same time, I know you're strong believers and staunch supporters of timeless ideals such as social responsibility, freedom, and justice. So young people like you make the difference. You are the only ones who can pull us out of the old habits, who can transcend old mentalities, obsolete growth models of the past, so that we can bring, and we will bring, Europe to the next day on the epicenter of world developments and on the front line of progress. I think that you all believe, and I have seen it, I have lived it. There's no progress in spreading around privileges to the few that will be paid by everyone else. And there's no growth in distributing money that you haven't earned. What growth is to give and guarantee opportunities for all, so that everyone has a chance to move ahead, to offer and guarantee security, stability, access to knowledge, access to job opportunities, access to capital, access to the markets, so that everyone can become a master of his or her fate. I think that growth is to construct and maintain also the infrastructures and the networking necessary for every member of the society to improve his position, to show his or her talents, exercise his or her freedoms, capitalize on everything they can capitalize on. And of course, on the other hand, I strongly believe that we do need what is called a safety net for the weak and for the needy. And of course, we must also offer what has not been the case in Greece for decades, unfortunately. It has been the case in other countries in Europe, not in Greece. We should also offer a second chance, and a third and a fourth and a fifth chance to those who were unfortunate in the first chance. Our societies are held together with strong solidarity ties and should never leave anyone behind. And I believe this is our notion of social justice, that is offering the opportunity of prosperity to all members of the society so that everyone has a chance to stand up on his or her feet and take control of his or her life. We cannot afford any mind to be wasted. We cannot allow any brilliant idea, any talent to be wasted. But we can also not afford anyone to leave anyone on the sidelines. So this freedom of the human soul and the brilliance of the human mind can only flourish in a context of freedom and of social responsibility. So these are ours, yours, ideals. These are the fundamental premises of the social market economy, which we are all proud to know that this is our ideology. But any ideology, no matter how attractive nationally, no matter how well articulated theoretically, is little or is nothing without the people who believe in it, live by it, and make it part of the real world. So to come back to Greece, let me remind you that not so long ago, when everything around us seemed dark, believe me, hopeless, some young people went against the current. They moved against the current. when others were leaving, when others were contemplating of changing their lives totally and leaving the country, they were those few inspired idealists who did the opposite, and they moved in. And they undertook serious initiatives when most were quitting. And they made, believe me, real miracles when many others were just waiting for everything to collapse. And these miracles have a name, and I believe they're called startups. And those startups are now multiplying, spreading around. They attract the attention of big international firms, for instance. Some of them have already been sold to well-known multinationals. And I'm proud to say that those Greek startups that started up at the lowest possible level of the biggest recession ever in peacetime. There's never been a recession and an unemployment level at peacetime ever in the world as the one we had to go through. So they're now praised by the international press. They give us hope, they give us pride. You know, during a severe crisis, it's only natural. All people have good reasons to be angry, to be protesting, to be bitter, to be gravely disappointed. But those young Greeks who, at such critical moments, took it to their hands and became entrepreneurs, those young Greeks who went against the current and against widespread misery, they've already moved ahead, they dared, so they generated incomes, wealth, hope, and they won all the way. And I believe this is the only way to become a leader. Through the best possible way to lead. And the best possible way to lead is to provide an example for everyone else. So they opened up a new road for everyone to try in Greece and beyond Greece. And I'm proud to say that startups is now part of our EPP agenda. And I'm also proud to say that our youth party organization, the ONED, now holding the presidency of the EPP Youth, indeed played a pivotal role in the surfacing and the first steps of startups in Greece. I'm sure they can share with you all this unique experience. You should really talk to those startuppers, the one that pioneered the whole experiment and made this spectacular success out of it. Now, concluding, allow me just a last remark. I don't want to call it a piece of advice. I never do this. But please always remember that when you're talking about mistakes we have to fix, we're also talking about lives, and usually lives of older people, of previous generations. But when we're talking about the future and how to fix past mistakes, we're talking about your lives, because you're the future. So you can be as critical as you wish for us, the old guys. But there's just one thing you have to do: don't repeat those mistakes. And this is what finally progress is all about: preserving what's good and worthy while correcting what has already failed. So we believe in you, we believe in our youth. I'm sure that this trust in you will be fully justified, always provided that you believe in yourselves. So I welcome you once again in Greece. I wish you a happy stay here, and I wish you every success in your work. I really appreciate it.